Hello and welcome to the Pro Detailer podcast. You join us again in Hayes in London, and we have imported a detailing legend especially for you. We are, of course, talking about Bob Eichelberg.
Well, thank you very much. I really appreciate you having Jay and I out here for this.
Well, it's been an absolute pleasure. Bob is, I don't quite want to say, you described yourself as a power tool prostitute.
Yes, that's a candid way to put it. I've been in the power tool industry forever. And I'm only, like 50 years old. So that's really amazing. But I actually started working for Skil Power Tools.
And when was that roughly?
1976.
Wow.
I actually worked for them for 4 years before that in the factory while going to college. And when I graduated from college, it was so funny. I met with a guy by the name of Tom Collins, of all names. And I had a Friday afternoon appointment with him. And he had a golf time. So I came in my suit. He's there in a pair of shorts and a leisure shirt, and looks at his watch and says, when do you graduate? And I said, next Monday. He said, when can you start? And I said, the following Monday. He said, okay, what color car do you want? And I said, blue. He said, okay, I'm going to pay you $9,600 a year because you worked in the factory. We're going to pay you a little more money than normal. And he said, I'll see you next Monday. So I went home, and out in the parking lot, he didn't have cell phones then. So I grabbed a phone and called my wife.
That's you did have normal phones. Though.
Yeah, we had normal phones.
They were just black and white.
Yeah, but not cell phones. And I called my wife, and she said, what did you get the job? And I said, well, I don't know, but I got a car. So we sort of chuckled about that. So that's where I started with Skil Power Tools.
And whereabouts in the world was that?
That was in Illinois.
Gotcha.
So that's when Skil was still Skil owned, as it were.
Absolutely. It was owned by the Sullivan family, who privately owned, second generation. And, so I worked for them for a number of years. And then they sold Skil to Emerson Electric. And then Emerson Electric sold it to Bosch. Mm-hmm. And I left then. And I went to work for ShopVac. Okay, a little deviation from Power Tools, but went to work for ShopVac for about 11 years. And this industry, everybody's together all the time. So who you know today is who you know tomorrow. Mm-hmm. And my old boss, from Skil, hired me at ShopVac. And then another guy had been at Porter Cable and said, hey, how would you like to join the Porter Cable team? So went to work for Porter Cable. And then we were bought out by Pentair Tool Group, who also owned Delta Machinery, Biesmeyer, Oldham saw blades, and worked for them for a number of years. And then they were bought out by Pentair Tool Group. And Pentair Tool Group bought Flex. So they called me up and said, hey, how would you like to run Flex? And I said, okay, if you tell me what it is. So they said, it's a German hybrid tool, yada, yada, yada.
So what year was this, just so people can orientate themselves?
This would have been in 1990.
Okay, so still quite a while ago, before Flex was known for detailing.
Right. And at that time, actually, Flex was known for whetstone polishing, for granite, marble, concrete, milling, edging of granite. You had some marble, but you didn't have concrete then or any of these corians and things like that. So, but they also sold a car polisher, which was like a boat anchor. People that used that polisher had Popeye arms after. So, I joined it. I joined under the president of Flex Germany. His name was George Hempfing. He was a institution. Been there forever. And he said, well, we're coming out with this new polisher and we're doing this and you need to go to SEMA show. And I go, what the hell is SEMA? So I signed up for the SEMA show. Now think of how boring this show was for me the first time. I'm in a booth selling a German tool that nobody has heard of. It's $200 more than the Dewalt rotary that everybody's buying. And it spins the opposite way. It's a pretty boring show. But lo and behold, we started getting into distribution and everything kept going. So I took on the job of a national sales manager for Flex Tools. And we had limited distribution at that time. We had one guy in Canada, one in California, one in Connecticut. That was it. So went around and did that for a number of years. And then we sold to Dewalt.
There's a lot of nepotism. Well, not nepotism. What's the word? This kind of...
I was going to say there's a lot of mileage.
Yeah. Yeah. So all Porta Cable, all divisions, everything was sold to Dewalt. So, of course, Dewalt couldn't get their hands around Flex at all. First of all, it was too small a company. It was foreign. So they sold Flex. So, okay, lo and behold, I was sold off as an
asset.
Yeah, I've had this too. I was sold with the business along with a photocopier and the office chairs, and you just sort of said, right, you're now working in Wakefield. It was terrible.
So I went, I interviewed, I helped sell the company actually, Flex, and they offered me a job to run the company, be president of Flex. Well, the problem was we didn't have anything. I mean, Dewalt called after the acquisition went through and said, well, we have 9 trucks of product. Where do you want them? So I don't have a warehouse.
It's not going to fit my garage.
So I worked that out. I went to open a warehouse in Greenville, South Carolina, because of the weather was good there. You didn't have delays because of ice, snow, and stuff like that. It was a very friendly market for non-union. Very good airport, rail system, highway system. So open that. But then I went back to Dewalt and I said, okay, I need to service these tools. Can I use your network of service centers all over the United States? No. Okay, another problem. So now we got to go, and fortunately from my past, I had somebody in Omaha, Nebraska, where I live, central part of the United States. And for no other reason, being lazy and knowing what they could do, we had them do our service. And in fact, we still use them today at Lake Country.
And when did you take the reins of Flex as the president?
Oh, probably, well, I was there 20 years. So I would say 1990 something in there.
Because the other side was interesting. So you had affiliation with Porta Cable for a while. Now, to the kids listening, Porta Cable was pretty important. I mean, Ian, why don't you describe why Porta Cable is so important to detailing nowadays?
Well, they were the first dual action sander polisher, if you like, that was really imported into the UK at least. You'd have to have a transformer for it. But at the time you were there, did they have the dual action machine at the time? Yeah. Yeah.
And, keep in mind, that was back in the days when you had woodworking shows. And it was phenomenal. We had customers, let's say in Denver, that rented the auditorium in downtown Denver for the week. And they would bring in truckloads of tools and have a sale. Where today there's no sale because it's everyday low prices at Home Depot, Lowe's, or Menards, or wherever you're at. But back then, it was a big deal. And actually, that Porta Cable dual action polisher was made for the woodworking trade. It had a dust collector system on it. It had hook and loop, which was important. But you had some detailers that had nothing better to do but take off that dust extraction and use the hook and loop to put pads and different things and wool pads and everything else on. So sanding discs.
Tell us, who were the people responsible for this? I didn't realize this is how it progressed. Tell us who was behind it.
Well, it was the people, you had basically in the industry back then for polishers, pretty much everybody either bought tools that you may not have heard of. Sioux Tools, Miller Falls Tools. Milwaukee had a big, heavy polisher. DeWalt owned the market, absolutely owned the market. Skil played around a little bit in it. You had Metabo, Hitachi, Makita. It was so funny when Makita came out. I remember being at a sales meeting, and the president came up and said, "Guys, there's a new tool coming to town, Makita, but don't worry about them. They're not going to bother anybody." How wrong we were. But you still had the World War II people that said, "I'm not buying a Japanese tool," and this and that. Well, that gave up pretty quick. It didn't last. So yeah, but no, Porta Cable was definitely a factor. The bad thing was they didn't know how to sell to detailers. So we had people in the United States like Auto Geek in Florida who would buy, oh my God, they buy 8,000 units a year, but they had to buy through another distributor. they wouldn't sell them direct.
Direct,
So,
yeah.
and it was because it was such a heavy market for rebates with customers that these people had a quota, and if they made their quota, they got an X percentage back. So they stopped them from selling direct because that was they always used at the end of the year, if they were short $200,000, we'd go and say, hey, if you give me an order for $200,000, you're going to get back X amount of dollars. They say, okay, make it in the sander, and done deal.
So were Porter Cable adapting these machines that did have dust collectors on there just to be purely polishing machines? Was that a market that they saw at the time, or was it down to AutoGeek effectively to adapt them? Or
well, they did it to adapt them.
Yeah.
But they never came out. Well, they did come out with a generation 2, thereafter, but they never really have chased it and increased anything beyond that. It was, with the big tool companies, Dewalts of the world and those people, I mean, if their market is construction, that's what they key in on. And their numbers are so large that they have to sell to maintain that product category. That
detailing always kind of falls by the side.
Yeah, it just goes.
And it wasn't that long before the Delteo Kestrel Dash 6 sort of started to overtake Porter Cable because they could import it from the Far East with a plug already attached.
I was about to say that runs on 240 rather than 110 volts.
Yeah, and you didn't have all the competitive Chinese brands and the Japanese brands and everything else back then. You had just the majors.
Well, and here's a quick question. Lake Country made the backing plate for the Porter Cable,
correct,
and the pad that comes with it in the pack. And you've always done that. That's been for yonks for donkey's years.
And still do.
Yeah, that's a very cool connection.
I wonder if there was a one of those sliding door moments at Porter Cable where somebody says, "Oh, we should really adapt this tool and really focus on the detailer market," and someone's gone, "Nah, let's just stick with woodworking." And you think at that point,
well,
if they completely changed and pushed it at that point, whether things would have taken a different trajectory.
Well, it's the same thing today. I mean, let's say Dewalt, for instance. I mean, they make X amount of tools for the construction market, and they're fighting constantly with Milwaukee. That's their big person in
Milwaukee
there.
just seems to like to fight everybody. That's the impression I get. It's like,
and they're local to you guys.
like the
Lake
drunk
Country, aren't they,
cousin.
Milwaukee?
Headquarters is 15 minutes.
Yeah, I mean, but their technology is good. I mean, and they're an American company still, manufacturing and things like, obviously parts come from all over the world, but.
Well, they put the stickers on in the US.
Yeah.
And that's what matters. It's intriguing between them. Random question. You remember Flex is in North America had to be a different color than the Flexes we're used to.
Well, that's because, I was very involved in that. I got a legal letter saying that we had to change our color because of Milwaukee. And I said, well, hey, we've been in business for 100 years, yada, yada, yada. And Milwaukee came back and said, well, you're absolutely correct, but you've only been incorporated in the United States for this many years. So we had to change from the red color to maroon, which it was a problem, but we didn't have the legal means to fight it, and we just said, okay.
Yeah, it's not sometimes easy just to...
we just changed. We lost that without even fighting it. So.
Well, the irony is now that in the UK, at least, Dewalt is trying to push in on cordless polish machines, and they're getting around, and a couple of detailers are starting to use them, and we're like, this is weird because they're obviously a massive, great big company, but it's only now they're actually paying us any attention.
Well, and I'll be fair to Milwaukee. It wasn't Milwaukee that caused problems. Milwaukee had a lawsuit against Hilti for the color red.
and I guess they have to be consistent across.
And Hilti's the one that said, well, what about Flex? Okay, well, it was brought to their attention. So, because we were such a small,
little
entity.
fish. Yeah.
God, what a snitch.
Yeah. So, it's kind of like telling on your big brother.
Because at that time, were all the Flex machines being made in Germany and shipped over?
Yes.
So you had to go back to the Germans,
yes,
and say, this company over here has told you that you have to make it in a different color. And what was the German reaction? Because I'm imagining it was
not good.
What?
Yeah, it was not good. But, fortunately, what we did at that point is a lot of the tools we went to black where we could, or we went to maroon, which didn't match anything at Flex.
Yeah, why maroon?
Yeah.
Why?
Well, I wanted to keep the red tone,
Right.
but it had to be away from the
bright
PM,
red.
the PM color of red. So, and that was easy, and they agreed to it. Everybody agreed to it, and so that's what we had a certain amount of time to sell them out or make the changeover. It was fair.
Yeah. And so, because Flex was passed between a lot of different kind of almost hedge funds at one point and then different companies, and it ended up with its current owner, Shervon.
Right.
And then about a year and a half after that, you kind of, you felt confident to leave it with Shervon. You're like, right, this is, and then you effectively retired.
Well, I didn't use to retire. I resigned. I said I didn't know what I was going to do, but I was ready to, 20 years was enough. And I was just ready to either do something else. And so I resigned, and we closed up the office in Omaha and closed the distribution center, and they went to a 3P warehouse.
Yeah.
And, it was a great ride. I mean, it was a great company. It was fun to do what I did. And, like Jay was saying earlier, I learned a lot. I made some mistakes, but overall, it was a pretty successful venture.
So what date do you put on closing the chapter with Flex? What year?
Well, it would have been 4 years ago, this July.
Yes, July. And then, so now we start with the Lake Country thing. So tell us how you ended up working with Jay.
Well, it actually started in 2016 at SEMA.
Oh, you were cheating.
Well, I was advising. And, Jay had asked me to, some questions and showed me some deals. And I was upfront with him at that point. I said, beyond this meeting today, it's a conflict of interest. And, we need to, but I think I might have said, I think you're crazy going into power tools. Because I know because so he's always listened to you. Yeah. Well, even at Flex, we said, if you have a concept today, from your concept today to when you come out with a tool is 7-8 years. It takes that long. And they had done it before.
And that's with all the manufacturing in place.
That's right. And, so they knew, they knew what was going on, and they're not always the quickest people at getting things done.
It makes you look very quick with the UDOS.
Yeah, they're thorough. So actually, but see, I had done business with Jay for a lot of years at Flex. I bought pads from them, and the pad was a dual label. It still is today, dual label, Lake Country or Flex tools by Lake Country Manufacturing. And it worked great because it was, to me, we sold quite a few of them during the year, but it wasn't something I wanted to take to heart or specialize in or anything else.
No,
it was an add-on sale.
Are you saying foams are boring?
No. They're just something that what I liked about, I can say this with, great confidence is the number of years that I bought those pads, I never had a bad pad, ever. So it was I used to tell the freight companies that would call on me, if I have to talk to you during the year, we got a problem. All I want is my can of nuts or bottle of booze at Christmas, and then we're happy. But I don't need to talk to you. It's you have a guy, you pick up my product, you ship it, you deliver it, and we're done.
Sounds like a good marriage.
Yeah, we're all happy. So, but no, it was some interesting times. But so Jay and I continued talking about all sorts of things, and I was very familiar with him, obviously. And so I left Flex. And Jay and I were talking, and Jay said, "Well, how would you like to, this UDOS is coming to deal. How would you like to try this?" And I said, "Let's try it." So I've been there ever since, and it's fun. It's exciting. They're a great company to work for.
Can you pronounce Okanawawich yet?
Okanawawak.
Yeah, you can. Yeah.
So I can even spell it.
At what point did you come into the UDOS design manufacturing side? Was it already kind of a built product? And you were
it was pretty close. It was delayed, of course. It was supposed to come out. That SEMA. I started in July, and it was supposed to come out that SEMA, and it didn't. But I was at SEMA, and we showed prototypes or variations thereof. So I was there from the start of that. And, I got to throw this in for the UDOS. It's still selling. It's a robust machine. I can go to my service center and back up these numbers I'm giving you. But over the years that we've sold it now, we haven't replaced any motors.
What's the warranty on it?
1 year.
1 year warranty.
And it's a brushed motor as well, isn't it?
Yeah. We have replaced no motors in it, a couple switches, lots of cords, because all detailers beat the hell out of
They
cords.
chew on them.
Oh, yeah.
It's like puppies. Yeah.
And brushes.
Use them in the water.
Yeah. But, it's been a robust machine. And, the good thing is we learned a lot. Jay didn't say much, and I won't either on the new tool, but we've learned a lot.
Give me time. Give me time.
Yeah. We've learned a lot.
He's been spiking his coffee this morning.
Oh, yeah.
Just to make sure we loosen up.
So, in terms of the UDOS, we've introduced this topic, so let's go a little bit further into it.
Okay.
Now, Jay said it was fine to tell us about the new tool. Do you want to go into a bit of detail on that? That would be
Not really.
good. No.
I do have my plane ticket paid going home, so I'm safe on that side anyway. But
so, where do you want to take? Because so just to give you a brief outline, we've got Jay who's in charge of all of Lake Country, and then we've got yourself who is in charge of the kind of the machine side, the hardware side, and then. We've got Don Sira, who's back in the States. You didn't bring him, tragically. And he runs the pad side of things. So you've kind of got this kind of pyramid style. Where are you seeing, where do you want to take Lake Country from a machine point of view in the next 24 months?
Well, in the next 24 months, let's shorten it up even more so than that.
I'm just taking every day at a time.
Yeah. I want to take it in the next 5 months to the new machine coming out. It's exciting. It's going to be exciting. There's things that our distributors are going to like. So I want to see sales going through the roof on that. We're doing a number of other projects here. Like, for instance, we're going to have products warehoused in Germany.
Yes, I heard about that.
Which is a new venture for us. And
well, your whole approach to Europe has changed with the development of Lake Country in the UK with Kelly and obviously with David.
Yep.
Before, it struck me that it was very much a kind of a remote thing, and if you want to buy it, you can call them up and maybe that'll happen. But now, just watching Dave going all around the world, and he sort of acts like Kelly's carer sometimes when he's off in Greece on training days and stuff like that. Dave's looking at me and smiling. But it is this proactivity to take on Europe. So slightly, bear in mind, Europe being the back door of Rupes and Flex, it's kind of like, hey guys, the Americans have arrived.
Well, it's exciting for us because I can tell you, I worked Auto Mechanica this year where I saw you guys with David and the team, and there wasn't one single customer that came into the booth that didn't stress to us the importance of having product here. Primarily because of the delay, getting it on a boat or shipping it over here. It's costly. It takes time. And so Jay, fortunately, we did a lot of research. Dave's done a lot of work, and Jay bought off on it that we got our first container on its way right now.
That's cool. And where is this hub? Germany, did you say?
It's going to be in Weberg, Germany.
Where's Weberg? North Germany. Sort of Saxony sort of thing. Yeah.
We have a partnership with a very good distributor there who is warehousing it and fulfilling everything for us.
And is that going to be fulfilling to the UK as well?
Yes.
It's so sad we don't have a warehouse in the UK, but no guesses as to why that is the case.
Never know.
Here's a question, just going a little bit back to touching on the UDOS, but now that you've made that machine, you've obviously got a lot of infrastructure in place back at the factory. You've got supply line sorted out. You've got all of the assembly sorted out, sourcing. Is there any temptation to make what classes a normal machine? So you now go into and just have a standalone DA and use some of that expertise that you've put together.
Oh, they're looking at each other. They're looking at each other like lovers.
Edit all of this out. No, I'm sorry. This was a little bit of a jumped on question that just came to my head. So I'm sorry for putting you on the spot.
It's like when I put peanut butter in a mousetrap for the first time. It's amazing.
Well, there's no question that
there are very good things coming down the line. But you can
in this market, you need to obviously look at brushless motors. That's important. You need to look at cordless. And there's lots of opportunities out there of single, once you make a 5-in-1, you can do all sorts.
You can go up, you can go down.
4, 3, 2, 1, whatever. And
3 seems like a good number.
And well, you never know, but you build off of what you've learned and what you can do. like to your point with the weight. I mean, the weight of the Udos 51E is because of a lot of it is because of the 21.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, there's a lot of weight in there. So
it's handy. You can murder people with the minimal effort. It's great for detailer protection.
And why you say, one of the things I tell people in spinning them is, if they talk about the weight, you say, well, the weight can be your friend also. If you're doing a flat panel or a hood or now vertically, yeah. If you're doing vertical panels, all day long, the weight isn't it.
But you get bigger muscles. You're more appealing to women.
Exactly.
You end up with upgrading your wife.
Everything. It's all over there.
So lots of interesting things happen. And so the good news basically is that Lake Country is going to be easier to access. And obviously you've got distributors in the UK and stuff like that already. And with more cool stuff coming out, I think it might be a time that we take a little pause, and we shall come back shortly. And among other things, we'll do your 10 not so quick fire questions.
Okay.
Automechanica 2023, widely known as the most important trade show for the UK automotive industry, with over 500 leading exhibitors taking part. It's on at the NEC in Birmingham between the 6th and 8th of June, and brand new for 2023, we have a dedicated detailing area as well as the Detailing Live Hub. Industry Educators UK Detailing Academy are hosting practical demonstrations, manufacturer showcases, and answering all of your detailing related questions. So visit the Automechanica Birmingham website today to book your free ticket.
And we're back with Bob Eichelberg of Lake Country. We are still in Hayes, tragically. And there are some things that we want to talk about in this second part. The first of which is, now Ian mentioned this off mic, and he was very insensitive about the way he put it, but I'm going to describe yourself as more chronologically enhanced, superior to us in a chronological enhancement sort of thing. So you, as a consequence of that, have got a broader perspective than pretty much anyone still alive over the detailing
Well, we
industry.
put it that way.
So really, it was just, how has the detailing industry changed? We've talked about kind of how the machine side develops and all the rest of it. Early days of detailing was AutoGeek and that lot for you guys. For us, it was Detailing World Forum and stuff like that. Can you remember who was the first reseller? We're going to get in trouble if we get this wrong, but the first multi-brand reseller in the UK for detailers, specifically detailing?
It's not going to be like a Shiner Armour, is it?
Was Shiner Armour
I
first?
reckon it's going to be because I know they dropped most of the manufacturer in the UK in it. So they were the first ones to go really tits up, at least.
Yeah, that's true. Okay, so and then AutoGeek in the States. But say if we take it from 2010 onwards,
There is a fantastic photo online of Bob with, I think he's also called Bob at AutoGeek.
Oh, Bob McKee.
Yeah, and
the founder.
And you're both having a competition to who can point at the computer screen the greatest. Because it was sort of around the launch of one of the AutoGeek Show Car Garage websites and something like that. So you've been heavily involved with AutoGeek from quite early on.
Well, I can tell you, Bob McKee is a dear friend of mine today also. In fact, if I could text him any time of day or night and he'll answer you. But what was neat about Bob is when I came in, it was the Flex 3401 we were selling him, and we couldn't get them as fast as they were selling. So Bob thought, okay, I ordered 50 and I'll get 10. Mm-hmm. Okay. He says, I'm going to order 100. So I'll get 25. I go, no, Bob, that's not how it works. I've got to divvy them out, fair. And it actually was good because he even told me, he said, as much as I didn't like how you did it, you were fair. Mm-hmm. But I mean, but he was the guy when he came in, there weren't other people around at that time. I mean, he really was the pioneer that got it going. And online sales, the carnival atmosphere he had once a year, having his detail fests.
Obviously, you had Mike Phillips on board there. Right?
And Mike Phillips.
How many books on the 3401 has Mike Phillips written now?
A ton. And, you got to give Mike credit where credit's due. With Mike Phillips, you don't want to ask Mike a question if you don't want the answer. Because he is not biased. He's honest. He's fair. and he's straightforward. So
Yeah.
I mean, Mike is Mike's an ambassador in the deal too. I mean,
he's kind of an ambassador for the whole industry in a way, not any specific brand. He's just, I mean, obviously he's working 3D at the moment, but he's kind of we in the UK there are certain actors who what do we call them? Kind of national treasures, I think we refer to them. They're kind of
Stephen Fry,
that sort of thing. Your equivalent, I guess, would be people like Tom Hanks, that sort of level. And I feel Mike is the Tom Hanks of the detailing industry.
No, he's very well respected, very knowledgeable, and he's a good teacher. I mean, he takes the time. I'm tell you, if you go to one of his classes, he works you like a dog.
Oh,
I mean, we've been in classes before, and I go, Mike, it's 2:00. We need to let the students break for lunch. Well, I got one more thing to go through.
They're clawing at the door, Mike. Let them leave.
I mean, he's tough, but again, he's one of a kind.
Mm-hmm. And you had obviously Rennie Doyle as well, quite heavy with Flex.
I've dealt with Rennie. I was one of the first people to do Air Force One with Rennie, which was quite a project back in the time. I mean, it was at Boeing Field in Washington when the planes were all outside. Well, now at least they're covered. Not on the sides, but the over the roof are covered. So, the weather in Seattle can be, just like it is out here. I started that with Rennie Doyle.
Yeah, I mean, I do helicopters every now and then, and the 747 terrifies me. my arms don't work for a week after doing a helicopter, and I don't even do that much of the work, frankly.
Well, and when we started, the Air Force One that we did was the Air Force One that brought John F. Kennedy back from Dallas.
Oh, okay.
When he was assassinated.
Yeah.
So that it's an older version of it, but we've done it now. I can't remember how many times. And then we've also done some other planes, did a 747, a lot of the one-off planes. They have a Concorde there.
Oh, wow.
That we've done. So, it's a project. I mean, those guys are there for 10 to 12 days, and they're working 10 to 12 hours a day.
Do they get well paid?
No, they don't get anything.
Jeez.
No, nothing.
God, business expert. Yeah.
Rennie has a group of probably 3 or 4 guys that are captains.
Is this the mafia that he does? The detailing mafia? Is that the...
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, it's the group that he does.
Yeah.
With. Yeah.
But he has a group of 2 or 3 master guys that I think they're giving some help. But everybody else, you're on your own card, and paying everything. But the ones that are really good and really smart, they use the publicity. I even had our local ABC station in Omaha, Nebraska covered my being out there a couple times. So these guys are smart. They get their own markets and have their, highlight there.
Yeah. Well, I mean, if you can clean Air Force One, you can probably do a reasonable job on Mr. Bloggin's Escalade or whatever.
Exactly.
It is. Yeah. No, it makes sense. So in terms of the market, so in the UK, we've got a situation where we've got sort of 5 or 6 decent sized resellers who predominantly are online. Many of them also have sort of smaller online walk-in shops. What I noticed, we've got lots of smaller shops around the country, many more than I first thought, actually. Somebody did some research. I can't remember where that came up, but so there are about 40 or 50 shops around the UK that sell pretty much purely detailing kit. But in the States, because we've obviously from the magazine point of view, we've looked at the kind of the way resellers work, and it seems to be quite state-centric. How would you describe the market? Do you have big distributors that go down and down and down, or is it all quite flat?
Well, you have key distributors, it seems, in every major market. And fortunately, we're keyed into most of those people, one way, shape, or another. But and then many of them have their own outlets from there. Like this guy may have a brick and mortar deal here, and then he does wholesale or retail. Or a combination of both. And, so many of these detailers, us included, are doing a lot of training classes. Yeah. So you're teaching the next guy how to do something. But we also have an awful lot of mobile detailers in the United States. Where they got a van with a generator and a pressure hose and everything else. And especially California, it's huge there, where they just drive Arizona, California, those areas.
All the areas.
Yeah.
No, that's cool. Well, of course, in this country, we've got quite a lot of they're known as mobile valeters, but they're also detailers as well. It's a sort of a grey area we won't go into at this point. But no, it's intriguing that kind of how the market works and all the rest of it. So there's not kind of I don't know. I always felt for some reason there was a kind of cartel style to the detailing industry. Is that you've got to know the right person to sell your products, and all these big, well-known American brands have got that single point of connection. But by the sounds of it, it is fairly, open in that respect.
Comes back to it being a bit of a closed circle. And interesting, going back to where we first started with you with Skil, are now owned by Shervon, who also own Flex.
Yeah.
So it does.
It's
all
a full circle.
Yeah. Everyone ends up owning everybody else at one point.
Yeah.
I'm sure we've been owned by everybody at some point. I feel mostly used. So.
Okay, so I'll do final question before we go on to the 10 questions. Who's your detailing hero? If you had to kind of congratulate one person, if you were at an award ceremony and you had a big gong to give to somebody.
Oh boy, this will get me in trouble.
Yeah.
I still got to go with Mike.
Yeah.
I mean, Mike has been there from day one. Rennie, very important also to me. I mean, those two guys have really been my guys over the years. I mean, I've helped them. They've helped me. They've endorsed my products. I've endorsed their work. But those two guys are really the two that have really
They're the
stood
champions.
out to me. Yeah.
Cool. Okie dokie. Well, as per tradition, and you've already seen Jay go through this, so you've got a bit of a head start. What is your current car?
Well, I have two.
Ah, thank God.
I have a 2022 High Country Tahoe,
Okay.
which I love.
That's a big kind of suburban style off-roadery.
Shorter than a Suburban.
Gotcha.
But I've always had a Tahoe. So, and my other one is I have a 2014 Jeep Wrangler with under 2,000 miles on it.
Oh, is this the red one you were showing?
Yeah.
Very pretty looking.
Yeah.
What is it? Is it modified or is it bone stock?
No, it's bone stock, 100%. I've done nothing to it.
Have you done anything with it? Because it doesn't sound like
No, not much. Hey, I'm planning on giving it to my grandson when he's 12 now. Or 13.
Probably a bit early then.
Yeah, when he starts driving, I'll probably just give it to him. But I just wanted it. I had a wild hair one day and went out and bought. What's really interesting, it's worth more money now than when I bought it.
Yeah.
I mean,
well, it's rarer now because at the time millions have been produced.
Used cars have gone crazy.
Yeah.
Like there's no tomorrow. So.
Yeah, no, I mean, I've currently got a car on sale on eBay at the moment. It's hit £1,164. I've just been notified.
Oh my God! Okay,
£1,100.
It's higher.
I know. Okay, so money, no object. Don't worry about practical implications or anything like that. If you could choose any car in the world from past or present, which would it be?
Oh God, probably a Corvette.
Okay, which generation of Corvette?
It's going to be a little red Corvette.
Probably.
Are you going to go for like a C1 Stingray, or you're looking more like the kind of the cool C4s or the more
C4.
modern ones? C4.
Yeah.
And let me guess, the ZR1 then? The ZR1.
Yes.
Yeah. Yep. I have to admit, that's one of my favorite Corvettes. I think dynamically they're crap, but still.
And you can't get in and out of them, and they're uncomfortable. But
and it's a 5.7 Hemi in that?
Yep.
Yeah.
I think it was a C5. I nearly killed someone on a test drive.
Oh, you told me about that one. Yeah, that was a C5.
Yeah. Automatic, and really underestimated how the torque's
torque comes in about 1,800 RPM. Yeah.
He bought the car though.
Yeah, and a new set of trousers. So I don't know how much hands-on detail you do, but the sounds of it, I mean, you've done Air Force One, so that's kind of the pinnacle. But what was the first car or horse you ever detailed?
A 1971 Mustang.
Okay.
I bought it brand new. It was kind of funny. My wife and I bought a new refrigerator recently, and we paid more for that refrigerator than we did my 1971 Mustang.
Is it one of these big American walk-in refrigerators where you can hide 2 or 3 bottles?
No, but in America, it's kind of funny because it's a smaller refrigerator, but because it's smaller to fit in a certain space, it's more money than the full size. It's just the stupidest thing you've ever seen. But no, it was and back in that time, you had to order a car.
Yeah.
You didn't go online or go into a lot except at the end of the year and drive one out when they're getting rid of the old models, but you had to order it. But yeah, that was the first car. And believe it or not, back then I was always been a clean freak, but back then the only thing you had was, I don't know if you ever seen it here, but turtle wax in the green bottle.
Yeah, they're big here, and they've actually had a rejuvenation recently.
Yeah,
so
and
they've completely
that's all you used back then.
They used to have Colour Magic.
Yeah.
It wasn't the 80s, the big thing. But
God,
have you looked up how much that 71 Mustang's worth now?
yeah.
No.
Don't.
Was it a fastback or a notchback? What?
No, the 71 was a new design. It had that bullet front end design. Because prior to that, the 70 has the old Mustang look, which they have currently.
Yeah.
The 71 was a weird. And the bad thing about that car, it started rusting upon conception. When they put the fender on, it started rusting at that point.
It was one that was built for the Nevada market.
Oh my God, it was terrible. Yeah. I mean,
Cool. So that's the first question detailed. And then we've got how many buckets do you, sorry, I'm nervous because it's obviously quite a personal question. How many buckets do you like to use when you're cleaning a car?
well, I won't answer the pad washer because Jay uses that, but two.
Two.
Yeah.
Gotcha. A wash and a rinse, I'm guessing.
Right. That's from Mike Phillips. You never use just one bucket.
Well, there are lots of different ways. There's no right or wrong answer.
Yep.
Well, there is probably a wrong answer. But rotary or DA, sir?
DA,
Okay. Do you like long throw or you go back to the old sort of 3 mil?
3 mil.
3 mil, thought so. I barely need to ask this question. Coating or wax?
Both.
Oh, okay.
Now, my cars, I've actually coated both of those. But, you know,
Life's too short sometimes.
yeah.
Yeah.
But I keep my cars clean all the time. So, I mean, it's not an issue with me.
Do you find yourself using a lot of the P&S products because of your friendship with Rennie?
Some, I get stuff from all my guys. So there's Dr. Beasley, PNS, Auto Geeks. I mean, I'm cheap. Whatever I get, I use.
Mercenaries at the time. It's fine. It sounds much better than cheap.
Well, what's funny is, you know, one of the things we didn't mention earlier is at Lake Country, one of the things we're doing now in cooperation with our distributors is having 4 training clinics a year at different locations,
That's cool.
Ours and some distributors. So whenever we're there, we're using whatever distributor we're at, their products. So consequently, if I'm at Beasley's, Dr. Beasley's, I got their stuff and try it.
And you can probably fit quite a lot in the back of a Tahoe.
Yes, yeah, quite a bit.
I need all 5 litres or 4.78 litres as it would be to test it. Okay, Ferrari or Porsche?
Chevy.
No, you don't quite understand the question.
I would say Porsche.
Okay. Just because you prefer German efficiency over Italian style?
Yeah.
Over Italian inefficiency.
Okay, now, as you've seen before, this is quite an important question. Subaru or Mitsubishi?
Subaru.
Good man. Reasons?
The safety record.
Yeah.
The resale is good on them.
That's true.
They last forever.
Well, here's a quick fact. The fire departments in the US have to undergo a special Subaru training day because their jaws of life, where they cut the roof off a car, can't get through the B pillars on an Outback. So they actually release a special paper at like a meeting for firemen or something like that, you know, showing each other their hoses, to learn how to cut the roof off a Subaru because it's that much stronger.
Okay.
Yeah, see, learning every day.
Here's another fact. Subaru are working on an EV and they still leaked oil.
No, it's Toyota. It's called the Solterra. It's actually a Toyota.
But you know, in the United States, the only thing Subaru touts is their safety record.
Oh, I'm not. I'm in many American Subaru groups. We do lots of off-roading. We do lots of drag strips. We do all sorts of things. It's a very flexible car. But anyway, let's not bore the listeners with the superiority of Subaru over everyone.
Again.
Okay, now here's an interesting question. Flex or repairs?
Neither. No. I have a special place in my heart for Flex.
Yeah.
I mean, they were good to me, good company. You know.
Funny, yeah. It's all cool. It's all cool. Final question. And again, I think I know the answer to this one. A Sunday drive or a Sunday detail?
I have no life. I mean,
it would be a Sunday detail.
Sunday detail. Yeah.
Second person now.
Second, who was the first again?
PJ, wasn't it?
It could have been PJ, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Have you ever met PJ?
Oh yes.
Yeah, you know PJ.
PJ, you've heard him if not.
Actually, to be fair, he's about, 100 miles away around the M25?
Really?
If I were to text him now and ask him to shout, we would probably hear it.
Yeah. I mean, well, you know, at this stage of my life, my kids are gone. You know.
You've achieved perfection is what you're saying.
Yeah. And I like to keep, you know, Sundays is my day to, you know, we go to church, we go out to breakfast, and then I either wash the cars or clean the garage or something like that.
There's something very therapeutic about it. I mean, that's what got me into it in the end, was an excuse not to have to talk to anybody, and I could listen to my Christa Berg and clean my car. Okie dokie. Well, look, it has been an absolute pleasure talking to you, and DJ, and it be something that we'll definitely want to do again in the future. But in the meantime, all I can say is thank you for taking the time, and it's goodbye from me.
It's goodbye from me.
And thanks, guys, for all your support.